Hello and welcome to episode number 123 of WP Café, the show where we share the real, unfiltered experience of running a WordPress business. I'm Keith Devon, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Mark Wilkinson. We're Highrise Digital, a tiny agency building WordPress websites and products. So today we're diving into a number of topics. Let's see what we've got on the list. Logging in Query Monitor, pitching for another project, our second ever kind of proper pitch, building for Classic or blocks or both when building plugins, and a little chat about security questionnaires and security policies and things like that. So lots to get on to today. You can follow us on X at WP Cafe Show. Find us on Blue Sky and the web. That is at wpcafe.show. And as always, if you enjoy the episode and you're liking this and want to support us, please do consider hitting subscribe, liking, leaving a comment, sharing it with people. All the normal things would be super helpful, and we really do appreciate it. We also love to hear your thoughts live if you're joining us on YouTube today. So say hello in the comments and get your questions in, and we'll chat through those live on the show. So Mark, how are you doing today? What's new?
I'm good. I'm really good. I had a fantastic day yesterday. I managed to shoot 75 in my golf tournament, which is 4 over par, which I am a 9 handicapper, so it was pretty good. My best ever round of golf. So
are you close to leaving me for the Pro Tour?
Not quite, but you never know. It could be a couple of years, but we'll see. Yeah, I think that might be a couple of centuries away, but you never know. So no, is the answer to that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was good fun. And the weather was good. It was a bit breezy. Tough coming back in the final few holes, but it was good fun. But, yeah. Outside of that, back into work-related things. We've done a pitch. We've had some frustrations. We've had some successes this week. It's been kind of a normal week in the world of Highrise Digital.
I would say that, yeah.
Overly exciting, nothing underly exciting. So it's been a run-of-the-mill sort of week, which has been fine. So yeah, that's my week.
Yeah, so similar, really, I think. What were we doing last week? Oh, yeah, I went to see Sam Fender live in concert. That was fun in London. That was Friday evening after we recorded the show. So that was my excitement for the week. Absolutely loved it. He's a rock musician from Newcastle in England, and very Bruce Springsteen-y in his style. He's like a modern Bruce Springsteen. Yeah. Packed out, 80,000 people just going nuts. It was really, really good. Brought my little girl. So it was her first kind of experience of something like that, which was really, really fun. She must be one of the youngest people there. Like, I was looking around, and yeah, not too many 8-year-olds in the crowd, but she loved it. And then work, kind of similar. Ongoing email template issues. So we covered that on last week's show.
Yeah.
But I had to kind of finish that off to the client's level of satisfaction this week. So again, that took me longer than I thought it was going to, but got there in the end. And then we had the pitch, which was obviously our big focus coming into Tuesday. And then the last couple of days, bits and pieces really. Bit of maintenance work, bit of rec press stuff, bit of offline kids stuff. So yeah, like you say, kind of a standard-ish week, really. But
I think just coming back to those email templates, I don't want to dwell on like what we did.
I don't want to dwell on them.
But it just shows, doesn't it? Like, if you get really good clients, then like it really helps. Like, so we was open and honest with this client and just said, like, this is ridiculous. This is not working. And they were like, okay, let's just do the minimal viable product thing. What can we do? And then we talked to them about it, and they were like, right, let's get that done then. So they were really good about it. So it's worth mentioning, working together, we managed to get something through the door that was good enough for now and can be used. Yeah,
it's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
for what it is as well. Like, they'd obviously sent a design through saying, any chance that can look something like this, and it really was just an any chance thing. And then I bury myself for 3 days trying to get it to look exactly like that. Whereas, I don't know what the lesson is. Maybe we should have just stuck to our guns originally and just been like, this was the brief, this was the scope.
Yeah. Don't try and outdo the brief almost, which I suppose is perhaps what we did a little bit. But also, like, just like clients are reasonable most of the time. So talk to them, discuss with them what the issues are and come up with a solution, which we did.
Yeah.
And they've got something that works. It does what they want. Does it look brilliant? No. Does it look functional? Yes. Does it work? Yes.
It doesn't look ugly.
It doesn't look ugly, exactly.
It looks totally fine. There's some branding in there that's laid out reasonably nicely, just nothing fancy. So
so that's the lesson, I think. But yeah, there we go. So
so let's jump into topic number 1. And I don't know much about this, so you'll have to tell me what's going on here. Logging in Query Monitor. What are you talking about? What are you on about?
So this was something I found. Do you know what? The audience might actually just be like, "What? You didn't know that?" Because it's one of those things that you find and you think, "Wow, that's amazing." So I used the Query Monitor plugin from John Blackburn quite a lot, more locally than anything else. I mean, it's called Query Monitor. It's kind of just like a debugging plugin, really. It logs queries, but it logs all sorts of things locally, so you can see what's going on, like requests and what query parameters are, what template you're in, what template parts being used, all sorts of things, and it'll log errors, PHP errors, into its little console thing as well, so you can see what's coming out. So that's been really, really useful to use. Now, I am not like a super duper developer, so I don't have a local setup that has like Xdebug and all these fancy tools where you can pause things and check what variables look like. I've tried to set them up in the past. It's just a disaster, so I've never really got anywhere with that. So I'm a sort of constant user of like var dump and things like that to see what's going on in my code. And I don't know how I found this, but the Query Monitor plugin allows you to log things into its little console. It has like a little tray that comes up from the bottom of the screen, and it's like where it logs all these things, and it allows you to put stuff in there so you can start inspecting your code. So you can do things like or the way it works, I'll tell you the way it works, is you just call do action, which is a core WordPress function. You pass QM, which is Query Monitor, and then a /, and then the type of sort of like log that you want. So I think it offers like, in fact, I could just check on the documentation here. It offers like a debug, where's it gone? Info, notice, warning, error, critical error, alert, and an emergency. I'm not entirely what the differences of all those. So, like if you do an error, it will highlight it in red like a PHP error, so you know something's wrong. If you do a debug, it just outputs like a message in there, so under the log section, so you can go and read it. And actually, there's a page on the QueryMonitor website called Profiling and Logging. There's actually all sorts you can do on it. And I thought, I don't know, I thought, how have I not found this before? Like, this is so useful. One of the reasons why I think it's really good is because if you've got like a specific logging function that you use, you don't want to leave that in your code. Because obviously you might not have that function declared on the live site and stuff like that. So therefore, you don't want to leave it in. And if you get to leave it in, you'll have some errors on your code. But this just uses do action. So obviously, if Query Monitor isn't active on the live site, do action just does nothing. It's just like, I don't have an action hook to that, so I just do nothing.
Okay.
I'm not saying you want to leave them in, but if you do accidentally leave them in, it's not the end of the world. It won't break. It's fine. So I just thought this was really interesting, and it's opened my eyes to like logging stuff locally and really changed the way that I'm logging stuff and debugging stuff in local environments. So it's got lots of stuff. That page I would highly recommend you look at on the querymonitor.com website. It's just called, if you just search for profiling and logging, you'll find it in the documentation. So yeah, it was like, wow, how have I not known this before? Because surely I've been using this plugin for so long. So I thought it was really useful.
So just explain to me a little bit more what the benefits are. So the main one I kind of pulled out there was the fact that you can leave debugging code in. Presumably you can anyway, and it will just log to a file. And
it depends what your code is. So I have a specific function that I've written that like formats my logs and things. So that's a function that's declared, like HD write log, I think it is, and it puts something in the debug log file.
Yeah.
But I would only have that declared locally. I wouldn't have that declared on the other site. So therefore it would come up with a function not available type error.
Right.
But
okay.
You could argue that's the wrong way of doing it anyway, and you should put that on the live site as well. I don't know, but this just solves that problem essentially. It doesn't matter. It's a core WordPress function, so it's going to work.
But there already is a WordPress debugging function, is there or not? That you could.
Not
I'm just trying to
there's
understand like the benefits.
There's a PHP logging function, which is just
Yep.
error log, I think it is. Not too sure. Does that automatically log to the I don't know where that logs to, for example. So there's things to look at, but that's a good one. But looking at this page, there's all sorts of things. There's like a start-stop login or profiling. So you could sort of say like start, then do something that you think might be slow and stop, and it'll tell you how long that's been running for and so on. So there's all sorts of stuff on there. I just thought it was really interesting and something that, I don't know, you often come across these things that you're like, how have I not known this? I've been using this thing for so long and I've only been using this subset of what it should do. And I've obviously found this and it's just like, wow, that was awesome. So I just thought I'd share that if anyone else has not knew that was there, because they might find it useful, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
And if you don't use that plugin, then you should. Query Monitor is excellent.
It looks like this is news to people. Nick and Elliot in the comments Elliot has said, "Ooh, useful. Didn't know you could do that with Query Monitor." And Nick says, "No, me neither." So Elliot just follows up with, "Yeah, I would use error logging in production. Log files can get really large and use up resources." Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, guys. As always. Well,
I was thinking.
Cool.
I was thinking for Job Relay, and this is actually outside of Query Monitor, actually. What I really need is I want to build login into the plugin.
Yeah.
At the moment, there isn't any login into the plugin, but I want it to be turned off. So it doesn't run unless you check a box on the settings page and then it starts logging. Because what would be great if a customer comes in with a question and says, I'm struggling with X or Y, or this doesn't work. I'd love to be able to say, right, can you just send me the log of the last job? Mm-hmm. And I could sort of output all sorts of stuff in this log file that says, oh yeah, we did this happened at this point, then we did this got logged, and then that was where it broke, type thing.
How much extra processing does that stuff take, though?
Well, it would, but the idea is that you wouldn't have it on all the time. You'd only turn it on.
Right,
and turning it on doesn't stop the process working. It just does some logs. So it would take slightly longer, obviously, because you're going to log stuff, but that might be useful. That's kind of outside of this because that's different. But it just got me thinking about logging and debugging and all that sort of stuff. So.
Yeah, very good.
Something to work
on. It always not freaks me out, but it's amazing how much is out there that we just don't know and can't you can't know it all. Like how many amazingly useful tools that would solve so many of our potential problems, and we're all siloed and doing things slightly differently and probably very inefficiently and just stuck in our own ways doing things. It's really hard, especially with just the amount of noise these days to surface the really useful good stuff. But yeah, I might do that.
I was thinking of doing a YouTube video, just whatever, 8-10 minutes long, just going through this stuff, because if these guys haven't heard of it, then maybe it's something that other people haven't known was there, and it's just really useful stuff, I think. So yeah, might be really basic, but it might help someone, which is good.
Before we move on, Elliot says, I've recently started using Sentry, which is offline logging with really nice UI for tracking error logs, also with early notifications. Something to potentially look into, Mark. I don't know.
Sentry.
Sentry. Yeah, let's look into that. Moving on. So our big event this week, I guess, was our pitch for a school website. So this is a school that got in touch with us quite a while ago now, actually. We had some really good early calls and correspondence about the project. Then it went very quiet for a while, and I followed up a few times, and they kept saying, "No, it's still, you're still going through the process. We'll let you know in the next stage." And I was like, "Okay, this is probably just going to die a death." But it didn't, and they came back and invited us to pitch, and then we talked about it in a previous show about whether or not we should pitch in person or do it virtually, and we asked them if we could do it virtually because it is a big deal. Was it like 8 hours of driving for you if we were going to go and do that? It was a long way, and it was just and the longer this kind of process has gone on, the less confident I am about winning it and stuff like that, and maybe We should have just gone for it. Who knows? Anyway, we sent the email saying, would it be okay if we did it virtually? They said yes. So we presented virtually on Tuesday afternoon, and we had prepared a 30-minute presentation, and then there was 15 minutes allocated for questions. So this is kind of the second or third time we've really done a proper pitch like this with slides and everything. It's pretty rare for us.
It's rare. I think it's probably a bit more than that, but it's rare.
Do you think so? Do you think it's more than that? Often we'll put together proposal documents, like we've done a lot of PDFs, but like in terms of slides, as in
I can
giving
think of 2
pitch,
plus this one. So that's 3.
So yeah, 3. I can only think of 3. Yeah, so this is our third. I thought it was our second, but I think it's our third.
I'd be amazed if there wasn't another few. But anyway,
I'm
that's
not
fine.
sure. I'm
not
not
many,
sure
put it
there
that way. Considering we're nearly 10 years old, there's not been many.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, and I think the slides were decent. I think the presentation was good. I think you delivered it very well. You delivered the majority of it, and I stepped in for the block editor demo section, which I pre-recorded but spoke live over the top of, which I thought worked quite well. Just so that we knew there wasn't going to be any major technical hiccups, because that's always really embarrassing when he's like, "Oh, just do this to do this," and then the whole thing breaks. Like, oh god. So that kind of avoids that, but still keeps it live in a sense. The other, I guess, interesting thing about it all was we did the slides in the block editor, which is the second time we've done that as well. So our last pitch, we did that, and essentially I've just created a bunch of cover blocks, full 100 viewport height, each one given a custom class of slide or something, wrapped in a group with a custom class of slide container or something like that, and then using CSS scroll snap, so that your new scroll, it just really nicely just snaps to the next slide section. Yeah. And it really works. And I'm just so much more comfortable building slides in the block editor than I am in Keynote or Sketch or whatever other tool, Canva. I just know the block editor so well. I know what it can do, and I know how to lay things out nicely. And they were very simple, like in terms of design, but I think they look really smart.
Good. Yeah,
and then you've got a URL at the end that you can give to the client. So here's our presentation.
We just password protected it in WordPress, native stuff. Just the pitch, the password. Go and look at it, and it was really good. And it was nice to be able to say to the client, "Look, we built this entire presentation in the block editor, like that you're going to get for your project that you've just seen as a demo, like, so they can." Hopefully that, like, oh, that's interesting. We can do different things with it and so on. Maybe. How did you think it went? What was your experience of it? It was very. I thought I did all right delivering it. Yeah, it's hard to say when you deliver yourself. You need someone else who's sat outside of you to tell you that. But it was a pitch to a lot of people. Yeah. So I'm just trying to think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 7, might have been 8 actually. Yeah, okay. Maybe. Yeah. So it was like in a conference camera. So we were looking at like a really high up view of all these people sat on the table, which was a bit impersonal, a little bit. Yeah. For me, it would have been much better if they'd gone in their own room and then joined the call in their own computer, because you'd be able to see them properly and hear them much better. The audio was quite all right actually. Once you got used to it, it was fine. That was that. But it didn't feel very personable. It didn't feel like a conversation. It just felt like a job interview, which I suppose in a way it was. But yeah. So I've no real sense of whether they thought it was a success, because it was actually hard to see them like the people. Yeah. Because we were so far away from them in the camera, so it was difficult to sort of get a feeling for what they thought about it. What the facial expressions were when you said things and things like that. You couldn't really tell at all. So. Yeah, maybe that's a good thing though. Maybe it's just good to be able to do that without, worrying. Yeah, there's something. Do you know what? Whenever I was delivering my bit, I put my notes over them so I couldn't see them, because actually I thought I don't want that distraction. I don't want to be looking at like who's reacting in what way. I just want to deliver this, and if someone speaks up, then I'll hear them.
But yeah, I deliberately didn't want to see them at the same time as I was talking, which
But I do think that blockhead to demo was good, because we've said that in the past, haven't we? We often deliver pitches like that, and we don't get across what they're going to get, and the fact that they're going to get this thing that allows them to build their own layouts and pages and so on. And so we delivered that quite well. I thought it was really good. It was quick and snappy. I think there's like a 4.5 minute video that you did where you talked over different things. So it was quick and snappy. They could see pages being built quickly. And I thought that was something that I hope they'll appreciate, seeing what they're actually going to achieve and what they're going to get.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope that landed. I'm worried that it was slightly too quick, but yeah. It's a difficult balance because you want to show that the content editing process is quick and easy.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if they're just like, whoa, what the hell just happened? Like, I don't know.
And I think anyone seeing that for the first time would have a reaction like that. Like it is, it's new, isn't it? But hopefully they had the reaction that, well, yeah, we'll need to learn that. But actually, look how powerful it is. Like, look what they've just done in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe. I hope that's what came across well with it. But
what did you make? I was just going to say, what did you make of the questions afterwards?
So the one question that stuck out to me was they thought our support contract or offering going forward was, or one of the people thought it was very expensive. So he was asking, like, what are you doing for that? And I explained, what we offer for our support and so on. And I came away thinking, I don't think I've got across what I actually mean there really very well.
I think that was one of the weaker parts.
Yeah.
Of the presentation. Yeah.
What I kind of wanted to say, but in a nicer way, was that, like, we are the reason why you're paying for this, the most important reason why you're paying for this. I mean, yeah, we're gonna back it up, we're gonna keep it up to date, we're gonna do all those things that you normally do in a support thing. But the most important reason why that you're paying for it, you're literally paying so that we are on the end of an email when you need us.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you make that sound reasonable and good? Something that they should want, because they don't want to be emailing us with a problem or something like that, and we're saying, well, actually, we can't deal with it for 3 weeks because we're busy. By having us on this support contract, we are literally at your beck and call to an extent to say we're here to help you. And I think that I didn't get that across in the pitch.
Yeah, I think we need to get across the whole, like, basically, you can just contact us whenever via email or whatever with any question, and if there's small fixes within 5 or 10 minutes, we'll just do them for you. We'll get them done usually within 24 hours of receiving the email. Yeah, I think that's a bit we could definitely tighten up. But it was interesting because that question then did open up something that we hadn't covered in our pitch at all, which is actually fundamental to, like, how we normally pitch for things, and that is, like, the freedom that the client has, the fact that we're not locking them into anything. We're not locking them into hosting. We're not locking them into a proprietary platform. We're not locking them into a maintenance contract with us. We could build the site, and then if they're not happy with us from a maintenance point of view, too expensive, whatever, they can go somewhere else and work with a WordPress maintenance company. Like, it was good actually that came out. That question came up.
Talk about that,
because it did allow me to actually say that, and I actually said, didn't I, during it? I was like, we totally forgot to put this in the pitch, but it's actually fundamentally important to, like, the kind of how we deliver things and what we believe in. So that was good. And then the other question.
So I was going to say, a question that came on from that was the fact someone was asking about, if we had work to do based on, an email inquiry that we had with you, if we're on the plan, what would that be covered within the support and maintenance contract? So I sort of answered that by just saying, well, like we said, if it's 10, maybe 15 minutes, we will just do it, like, whatever it is. But if it forms more of what we'd call a project, usually like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours or longer, then we'd have to quote for it. I don't know whether they were satisfied with that, but I think I couldn't, like, there's no other way to explain it in the
I wonder if we
will do whatever we can for you that is reasonable for us, and usually that's quick, changing a heading or setting a color to green or whatever they can't do and helping them, or something. We had an email from another client, didn't we, about making some changes to adding a new button, a new section. They'd added the section, but we were perfectly happy to go and add the call to action on the homepage, change the button, add this here, because it was like 10, 15 minutes. It's fine. So I think we need to have perhaps be a little bit better at explaining that defining line between work we do as part of that support package and work that would not be included.
I think that should have been a whole slide of its own, like in hindsight. But interestingly, we were already slightly over time. So what would we have cut from the pitch to put that in? I don't know. And the same with the freedom thing. Like, I would definitely put that in next time. But what would you cut? We just have to streamline some of the other stuff.
It's true.
It's hard, isn't it? The whole thing. You know, you've got 30 minutes. It's a proper sales pitch, and it's not something that either of us are like really that keen on, or really that kind of natural or good at. We're not salesy people, so.
And you don't know who you're talking to, like as in, if I was the person sat in their room, I would be more the call for me would be all about who are these two guys? Can I work with these two guys? Do they seem really nice? Do I get along with them? It'd be more about that than actually what they pitch, I think, for me personally.
Yeah.
Because you can get that from the document or from from the pitch itself, obviously.
That's true.
And I think because, like I said, you've only got 30 minutes. You can't explain all of the detail about what you're going to deliver. It's impossible. So it's difficult balance. You've got to kind of balance the two and try and get both across. And it's not easy in 30 minutes. I think we did all right. I think we did all right.
I think we did all right. My gut reaction, I said this straight after the call, my gut reaction is we won't win it because it's a big committee of people making the decision.
Yeah.
And when you get committees like that, they'll go for the least risky option, which we are not. Yeah. But they will go with someone that churns out school websites, 100 school websites a year or 20 a year or whatever, rather than a two-person team. I think.
I think you're right, but then if my only argument or counter argument to that was, why were we in the room then? Because if they weren't going to use us because of that, why even invite us to the pitch?
Because the person inviting people to pitch is only one of the people in that committee, and they might really like us and might want to work with someone like us, but they've got 7 other voices to account for. So, yeah.
So if that is the case, then I really hope that the person who invited us, who presumably wanted us at the pitch, gets that across to the committee, is what it's called.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And sort of fights our corner, but we'll see what happens. But I quite enjoyed it, actually. I mean, I was a little bit nervous to start with, but once I got into it, I thought I enjoyed it. It was nice. I said it would have been nicer to be a bit more personal. I think being there would have been great, but it wasn't practical. It wasn't practical.
It even started on a really awkward note, didn't it? Because I couldn't log in, or they hadn't, or whatever. And then when I did, they were all just chatting amongst themselves, and I was like, "Hi!" It's kind of.
It's a bit like that when I joined. Yeah, I joined, and everyone was just talking, and then you're like, "Well, what do I do? Do I just say something, or do I jump in and say when we start?" And it was a bit awkward. And I said to you, I think what would have been better is the organizer, so the person that we were communicating with to set up the call. For me, they should have jumped onto the call personally on their own laptop so we could see their face. Hello, I'm such a body, welcome, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to present you to the whole room, and then that's when the call started for me. I think that would have been better, but better for us anyway. So cool.
So next up, we've got, and it's good that hopefully Elliot's still here. But this is from a post of Elliot's on X. Something about should you support classic WordPress sites or block-based WordPress sites when building a premium plugin? I'm not exactly sure. Can you talk me through this one?
I can, yeah. So Elliot posted on various platforms, actually. I just thought it was a really interesting question. So he said, as a developer, if you were building a commercial plugin today, I presume he means starting from scratch right now, that you've developed, would you develop for WordPress Classic, like the classic themes, blocks, or support both? I'm curious to where folks are leaning to in 2025. And interestingly, the poll has got plenty of time left, but it's currently at 14% for classic WordPress, I presume only, 50% for blocks, and 35% for both. So that was interesting. So I answered that question by saying, and it does depend what you're building. I must admit this, it does depend on what you're building. But if you're building a plugin that needs to output something and you want the user to give the user control of that output, then right now I would probably build shortcodes for them. And the reason for that is because they will work universally with all the page builders.
There just
including the block editor.
aren't enough sites using the block editor yet.
Yeah.
And we're really well positioned to say that, unless the recruitment space is different for some reason. And I don't think it is, because the recruitment sites that we interact with are just built by WordPress agencies and freelancers and whatever. So, and they're all built with Elementor or Divi.
Yep.
Nearly every single one. So I think we're in this block editor world and full site editing, Gutenberg world, we call it.
No one else is.
The rest of the WordPress ecosystem is not.
Yeah.
You know, maybe people that go to WordCamp Europe and whatever else, you know, that's what they're dealing with. In my experience,
that's because they're probably small agencies like us, probably bigger than us actually in terms of the number of people that build in these sites. And my gut instinct is they're charging 3,000 to 5,000 for these sites, maybe.
Yeah, possibly less.
And they have built a process that is, you know, like really economical and really streamlined at building sites using Elementor or Divi. They know the tool, they know how to use it, they know how to build. And I've got to say, some of the websites we integrate with are really nice looking websites. They look really good on the front end. And why would they want to change? Like, to just tell them to dump all that and use this new thing when it actually works. You know, the clients love it, they love it. I think we had a block site recently, and that's probably the second or third we've ever come across to integrate stuff with.
It's very rare.
And it's been around for 5 years, maybe 6 now, don't know.
Yeah.
So I would personally, if it was outputting stuff, I would opt for shortcodes, which is what we've done in RecPress.
Mm-hmm.
That uses shortcodes to do the output. So you can use it in the block editor, you can use it in the full site editor, you can use it in Elementor, you can use it in Divi, because they all have options for outputting shortcodes, which works well. If it's a different type of plugin, and I think Elliot made a comment to me, like, what if you were, you know, interacting with the WooCommerce checkout or something? You might have to opt for something different or do both pieces of development for both. But from I run back to our argument then. If we're looking at the ecosystem, there's very few people using blocks. So I wouldn't want to be spending lots of time on making something work for blocks.
Yeah. Unless, like you say, that world is different. Like maybe the WooCommerce world, lots of people have transitioned over to using the block editor.
Be interesting to see, wouldn't it?
That would be quite interesting.
Similarly, we use Easy Digital Downloads, and they have blocks and they have shortcodes.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, what's the split of who's using Easy Digital Downloads, what they actually do, what they run.
Yeah. Cool. Be interesting to know. I'm assuming Elliot has a little project in mind, so interesting to see what he chooses. So last up in terms of a topic, and this is potentially the most controversial one, is security. The security questionnaire that we received. A potential client got in touch about Job Relay and then RecPress, so the job data integration plus the job board front end work that we do. And I think they potentially wanted it on a number of sites, but it's going to start out on the main brand website. Blah, blah, blah. Sounded okay. Lots of calls already for something that is usually like a single call and then buy kind of process. That's fine. But then towards the end of a call, they mentioned, we'll just send over our security questionnaire. I was like, oh. Okay, I wonder what that's going to look like. And I opened it up and I was just like, no.
Its official title is a third-party information security questionnaire. So I assume it's like we're using a third party to deliver part of a project or part of the website. So we need to be sure that their security is at the same level as ours if we're offering this security policy. I'm not quite sure, but that's what I assume it's trying to achieve.
Yeah. But essentially, I scanned down it and I got to about 4 or 5 questions down, and our answer for every one of them would have been no. And there was 13 pages of questions, about 15 to 20 questions per page.
Quite a lot, yeah.
Like, I was like, this, we clearly do not meet these standards. Whatever these standards are, we don't meet them. So you went back and said no. And then they came back with the questionnaire filled in on our behalf, saying that we had done we do meet all these standards, and we're just like, no, we're not doing that. So it's just an interesting one. Like, we're a really small team. Some might argue, and I'd be really interested to hear what others think. I'm sure there'd be mixed opinions on this from various, different agencies or freelancers or whatever that take different opinions on this. But it's a bit like the whole GDPR thing, and it's a bit like Tim did a blog post. Nick pointed me towards this. So there's a UK cybersecurity and resilience bill that's just been put through, and it looks like another bunch of very complicated hoops that people like us will have to jump through to be legally compliant. And it's frankly ridiculous, and it means that teams of our size cannot do our job anymore. Legally, we can't meet those standards with teams and revenues of the sizes that we're at. So yeah, just interesting to hear how other people deal with this kind of thing. We obviously try to write secure code, but we're not doing like thorough reviews of all the third-party plugins that we use. For example, we're not doing that. We're not reviewing every update of WP Job Manager to make sure that it's fully compliant in some way. And we're not going to be doing that going forward. So I don't know where that kind of leaves us. I mean, it's probably like, we haven't been asked this too many times. Let's just put it like that. I think this kind of stuff has come up before, but for RecPress and Job Relay, this is quite new.
So, for me, so just to give the people listening an example of like some of the sections in this questionnaire, there's one about information security policy, which asks, do you have one? Is it compliant with certain standards? So the answer to that is no. Information internal organization, which talks about like, do you update it? Do people know about it in your organization? You've then got subcontractors that you use. Who are they? It goes on and on in this. Like subcontractors, like we store stuff on Google. Does that mean they're a subcontractor? Where does this end? It becomes a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
And every time I've received one of these from clients, and we are talking tiny amounts, 4% of the people that buy these products do this. I have literally just told them the same thing. I'm not filling that in, or I can't fill it in. And they've kind of just said, well, fine, we'll do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
We want this product, so we don't care.
Yeah.
So this is the only one which is sort of like persisted with it. And I'm not blaming them. Like, they've got to do it. That's part of their procedures internally. Like, but I don't know. I find it interesting. Does everybody else have these policies? And we're the only one that doesn't. Maybe
I
that's
highly doubt it. Personally,
I don't know. Yeah, and I think like it implies, does your organization have an information security policy? Like I have to answer that as no, because I don't have a document that is our information security policy.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I am not securing our organization's information. I can't point you to a policy, but that doesn't mean to say we don't do X, Y, Z, A, B, and C to secure information, because we probably do. But because I haven't written down a policy, I can't answer yes because I haven't. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very interesting stuff. I don't know. Yeah, you should read this new bill, and Tim's done a blog post. Tim Nash. I wonder if I can just throw it. It's called "What the Eck is UK's Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill." If you go to timnash.co.uk,
I'll have to look at it. Yeah.
it's probably worth having a little read of that. I don't know if there really is a TLDR, but to comply, so I'll just read this 4 bullet points. To comply, you'll need to 1. Identify risks and vulnerabilities in your software and supply chain. 2. Enable and act on vulnerability reporting. 3. Consider how you patch and deploy patches. I don't know how you legislate for consideration. Yep, I've considered it. Done. And 4. Respond and update promptly when vulnerabilities are disclosed. So, I guess that's very reasonable, but identifying risks and vulnerabilities in your software and supply chain is, how do I identify vulnerabilities in Google's infrastructure, for example?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's not what it means, but like, you need to tell me where the lines are.
What does it mean then?
Well, exactly. I don't know. If we're storing data on server X, like, do I need to understand their whole system and run vulnerability reports and tests? I just don't. This stuff it's just crazy to me. Like, it really is. Like, how do you ever get anything done? Interestingly, it'd be great to speak to Elliot about this, actually. He says, yes, I do work for the government and I have to meet certain standards. So, that's fair enough. And hopefully you're well compensated for having to meet those standards. When we get one request for this kind of thing every number of years for a cheap-ish product, we're very happy just to say no. We won't do that. But I guess if that's your main line of income or whatever, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And it's a selling point as well. Like, if you're working for certain sectors, certain industries, all this stuff would be a selling point. For us, it's not. I won't lose any sleep if we don't win this particular bit of work. So it'd be nice too. But yeah, interesting. Lots of stuff like this ahead, I feel. But we'll see how it all plays out.
I think what I found it interesting is not the right word, but it's really nice of the chap to sort of try and fill it. We've said we don't know how to fill this in. We can't. It's really nice of the chap to say, look, I'll have a look at it for you, and I've had a look at your website.
Yeah.
But like, presumably the reason why we need to fill that in is because it forms part of a legal argument. Like,
exactly.
If something goes wrong, we've legally got this document to fall back on where you said that you had a policy.
Exactly.
Well, I don't. So you can't fill it in for me. You can't lie.
Yeah.
So I just find that very strange, So yeah, we will be turning that one away unless they're willing to proceed without it. So
yeah, which is a shame, as always. Like, we want to help people that want our help, but we can't do that. We can't do that. It's too much.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up there. Nearly 45 minutes, a lot longer show today. Thank you so much for everyone that tuned in today and has caught this on the podcast. We really appreciate you being here. As always, please do consider leaving us a little like on the video. Consider subscribing if you do want to catch us every week talking about this kind of stuff. And even consider sharing it on your social networks or on your Slack channels or anywhere that you think people might be interested in hearing from us. Hopefully it's a bit of Friday afternoon therapy for WordPress professionals to feel better about yourselves, to hear about all the strife that we go through. But yeah, I appreciate you being here, and see you again next week.
Bye-bye.